Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. Hope everybody's having a good weekend. First off, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. So today we're going to be covering 93 Cobra tail lights. I've done a video about 93 Cobra tail lights already. However, it's way back there somewhere. And if you want to go watch that one too, that's fine. I've had a lot of people hit me up since I made that video. Hey man, do you restore tail lights? Would you do my tail lights? And if I had time, I would. I would do them for people, but if I give them a price, I'd probably scare them to death because literally I probably put 2 to 4 hours in doing a set of these taillights, even with new reproduction Daniel Carpenter lenses. This car didn't have any taillights in it, obviously. I'm using a set of LX housings. I ordered new Daniel Carpenter LX taillight lenses. I normally order, excuse me, the Cobra lenses, but if you guys have replaced yours with the reproduction lenses know that the stripes aren't painted on. They're a vinyl cheap pinstripe that just peels right off when they get cold or you wash them at car wash or whatever. So I'll show you my process. I know you guys get tired of hearing that. I'll show you how I do them. Materials I got on the bench today. I'm going to set up the camera and let you watch how I do one tail light. So if you want to hang around and watch the video, it might be kind of long. I'm going to take my time, show you how to do them right. So if you guys want to do them, they're not hard at all. It just takes a lot of time, and I do understand a lot of people don't have time to mess with this kind of stuff. And like I said, I would do them, but the price I would tell you probably scare you to death for 4 or 5 hours work to clean these up, take them apart, rebutyl them, repaint them, restripe them, take them up to paint the stripes. It's quite time consuming to do a set of taillights like this. So I understand why the repos have the vinyl stripes. If you're just doing, maybe putting them in a drive or something, you don't care, or maybe an SVO or you don't care or something like that, I guess they're fine. But I want these to look OEM when it's done, and that's why I take the time that I do to make them look OEM. So I'll show you guys my materials that I'm using, and I'll set up the camera. We'll get started. I've got one of them apart. One of them is still assembled. I've got to take the lens off. I'll show you how to separate the lens without damaging the housing. That in itself can be a pain in the butt to get that apart. I've got a repo lens sitting here, and I've got an original 93 Cobra tail light set that I've had for a long time that need restored. But I use them for references, so I've just kept them around for a long time. I'll probably never use them. Like I said, they're kind of for reference only, where the stripes go, how they're supposed to go on, and what they look like when they're done. So let me turn the camera around and show you guys what I'm working on today. All right, so we got this messy table set up for you guys to see. So first of all, I use 3M butyl. This stuff here, I'm flipping around, it's 3/8. It's kind of big. The reason I buy the 3/8 is because I can stretch it out and kind of make it any size I want. I can make it 1/4 inch, 1/8 inch. So I start with the big stuff and then stretch it down to whatever size I need. So I get more material when I buy the 3/8 when I do stuff like this. Those are the original clips off the other one. I always get a box of razor blades for cutting the tape where I need it. Very thin straight screwdriver for digging the butyl out of the gaps, the old butyl. There's the two that I've separated. That's about how much old butyl you're going to get out of there from separating the lens. I use 2 putty knives sometimes to separate the lens from the housing. So you want to make sure you have one that's really wide. Some guys you'll use a flat tip screwdriver, but they're so thin, when you try to turn it like this to separate it, you'll put a nick in the housing or dent the housing because they're not as hard as you think they are. Got my nuts for the tail light housing. I'll put them back on. Scotch-Brite, 1/8 inch fine line, 1/4 inch fine line, masking tape, good old rubber gloves. Cleanliness is next to godliness. And this is the paint that I use right here. That's the color, it's SEM. It matches the best of factory. The chrome paint is for repainting the reflective part in the housing itself. That shit's the bomb. It works awesome. So that's what I use for the reflective part of it. This is one that I've already separated. Like I said, this was a LX housing. They are all the same. LX, GT, Cobra, SVO, all the housings are the same. So if you got a busted housing and you're trying to replace one, you can't find a new one. They do sell these housings, but right now I think everybody's out of stock of just the housing. So if they've got one full tail light for a GT and you need an LX and that's your only option, then you can buy one for a GT and then just use the housing and maybe flip the lens to somebody. This is another just 85 LX tail light. I'm going to use this one to separate it. It's already broke right here, so I'm going to use this housing on the teal car that's behind me eventually. So this is the one I'm going to separate to show you guys how to do that. Over here, this is the new Daniel Carpenter These are Ford tooling. They've got the correct Ford part numbers right up in here. I don't know if you guys can see that on the camera, but they are the correct Ford part numbers. Got the correct ambers. The red looks good. Now watch this gray. When you repaint this, I'm going to scuff all this down. I don't know what kind of paint they use, but if you lay it on really wet, sometimes it wants to lift. So I don't think they use any hardener in this gray paint at all, so you have to be careful when you respray that. And this is the old original OEM 93 Cobra taillight. It's got the separation right here in the third bar on the lower, and it's just old. You know, I use it for references. You know, a lot of people don't realize, I flip this around, right here on the end, the pinstripes don't go all the way to the end on these taillight lenses, which is kind of, sometimes it just depends on me and the mood. Sometimes I'll paint them all the way to the end because I think this just kind of looks tacky sometimes. But if you want the car to look OEM and original, this is how it needs to be. So, and that's the end of it. And like I said, this is the one I'm going to separate for you guys here in a minute. But that's everything I use to do these tail lights. And what I'll do is I'll set the camera up, show you guys how to separate this lens over here, and then we'll just go from there. Clean it. We'll finish cleaning this one up, get it repainted, get the lens back on it, and then we'll tape it up to get the stripes done. So like I said, this video might be kind of long. You can fast forward through it, whatever you want to do. The part you want to see, the part you don't want to see. I'm just showing you guys. Like I said, this is my second video on this. I do apologize. The first one was kind of, you know. So if you want to watch this one, hang out and watch it. I'll set up the camera, separate this one, and we'll just go from there. All right. So this is the LX 85 or 83 to 86. Not really sure what it came off of. Now we'll tell you something else that's kind of unique. So these studs right here for the nuts, they did change the thread pitch on some of these nuts. So you got to find out what your taillight housing you have. 83 to 80 to 93 will fit. 83 to 93, obviously. But the housings are all the same. However, the studs on them are different. I'm not sure what year they changed or when they changed, but this one here, these are off of 93. They're off that convertible LX parts car I bought for Phoenix. They won't screw on. See that? Now, this is off the 93 LX housing. Spins right on. So I'm not sure what year they changed the thread pitch on these studs. So just be aware, if you buy a set of tail lights, that's as far as that goes. I can get on there 2 turns and it locks up. So if you buy a set of housings, like a junkyard or something, make sure you take the nuts with you. If you get them used, or make sure that the car you're putting together, you have the nuts before you get to that part of the process, because once you go to mount these, if the nuts don't fit, it's going to kind of aggravate you and just give you a bad day all the way around. So I'll put Yammer on, but that's something I wanted to tell you guys, that they did change the nuts to mount these. I don't know why. Makes no sense. Kind of drives me crazy. So, like I said, this one's already broke right here. So what I normally do is I'll come up here to the top by where the license plate is at, and I just put this in flat like this, in between the lens and the lens housing, and then just turn it a little bit and walk it down a little bit. So sometimes some of these housings are already falling apart. You don't need to do this, but this particular housing, it's kind of why I chose this one. It's still super tight, which tells me the clips are really good and the butyl's holding. So I just wanted to show you it's kind of a pain to get apart if they're still together the way they're supposed to be. That popping sound you just heard is the clip releasing the lens from the housing. When I say clip, they've got these little metal clips. Now if you order the kit for LMR, the install kit, reuse your metal clips. The ones they sell are that come with the kit, and it's not them, it's the company that makes them. They look the same, but the metal they use is not the same. They just don't hold very well. This one, like I said, this one here is on really, really well. There we go. Start to separate. Flip it over. Walk the back side as much as you can. Just be careful, try not to damage the housings. Like I said, the top of these are really soft where they're sealed together, so you can leave an impression or an indentation. And if you do that, that's not the end of the world. You can take a piece of sandpaper and smooth it out before you paint it. If you get just a little nick in it or something, it's not a huge deal. So, just be careful, because if you got a lens, say you're replacing your lenses, and your original lenses aren't broken, and you can reuse them, or maybe put them on eBay, or so there you go. Had this not had a crack right here, and this was just a faded lens or whatever, I could wet sand this down with some 2500 and buff it, and this sucker looked brand new. But since this one's already broke, now this would be good for like a driver car. Say I had just an 80 something model, 83 to 86, didn't have a tail light, this would be fine. But it's not something I'll use on one of my cars. Now, this is the tail. This one here is super clean. See how nice it is? Now, as far as I can tell, knock this stuff around. I said this one's out of a 93. Flip them over, they're exactly the same. Now, these are the metal clips I was telling you about. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 6 of those on these tail lights. Now, like I said, this has got the different studs, so I'm assuming this is an early tail light. This is probably an 83 or an 84 tail light, because I'm not really sure what year they changed the studs. Let's flip them over. The backs, they are identical. They got different part numbers. Let's see. So this one has a E3 part number on it, and this one has the exact same part number. So why they have different studs, I have no idea. Why Ford changed the studs on those tail light lenses. So, all right, so that's separating the tail light. I'm going to go ahead and clean this up a little bit better. There's no point in making you guys watch this. So once I get this cleaned up and taped up, I'll turn the camera back on. We'll get this rattle can ready to go and repaint the chrome. You see how nice this one is? This one here is super nice. This is probably one, if you see how good the chrome is on this one, this is probably one I wouldn't redo. It's actually super nice. This one here, this one came off that 93 convertible. It looks like caca. So, yeah. All right. If you're still watching the video, I appreciate you hanging out. Give me a few minutes. I'll get this thing cleaned up and get it ready to paint. All right. Welcome back. So I got the taillight housing taped up, scuffed up. I cleaned it really well. Got all the butyl off the back. So I don't know if you guys know, these little rubber seals on the back, they're also held with butyl. They put butyl around the actual housing where the seal seats in, and then they compress it on top of the butyl. And over time and years, it just kind of squishes out and dries up and cracks up and turns into just an ungodly mess. So when I reseal those, I either use butyl sometimes, or just a good thick coat of black RTV around the edge of the housing, and then put the seal back on. That's up to you. It's personal choice, whatever you want to do. So like I said, I got this all cleaned up. I'm gonna blow it out real well. I'm gonna use some window cleaner to wipe it down, get everything out of it. Something my son told me works pretty well. It dries up quick, keeps stuff from fish iron. So I'll get that blue off real quick, wipe it down, and we'll get some of this chrome paint on it. Oh, how about I turn on my air hose? Huh? A lot of this stuff is just in the prep work. I know earlier I said I take about 2 to 4 hours to do a set. Kind of keep in mind, I've been working on this one probably on and off video for about an hour and a half now. So, and that's just one. So I still have this one's not done yet, and I have one more to go. So wipe it down a little bit. Some glass cleaner. You don't have to overdo it. Make sure you got a good clean rag. I just pulled this one out of the rag box. You see how much crap comes off of that? Nasty. Of course, this was after I scuffed it, so you're going to have some of that residual old chrome stuff still on there that you're trying to get off. That's the good thing about Windex. Basically mostly alcohol, so it dries up pretty quick. You don't have to sit around and wait sure everything's dry. I'll normally blow it off one more time after I clean it. So this is just a chrome process. Now this stuff works really well. The first coat I don't normally put on very heavy, and I've been shaking this can off camera for, I don't know, seems like forever. I don't know what it is with some people. I watch some of these guys that do YouTube stuff, Fox Body channels. I won't throw no name drops, but you guys watch Fox Body channels, you know what I'm talking about. Learn how to use a spray can. I mean, it's nice to even coat. So this one, this stuff sprays a little funny. The first coat I don't normally lay on wet. I'll put it on just a little dry. Oops, I got some on the seals. Now, thought I had the table cleared off. This stuff does kind of go everywhere. The way it sprays, but you see how I got a nice chrome look already going over here, and I just barely put it on the light. Make sure over here for the side of marker light up here, get it good and heavy up in there. Once you got it laid down. Once you get a good coat, and you see that it's not going to fisheye on you, which mine did really well, then you can kind of put it on a little heavier to get a good reflector. All right, that's looking. Well, if you guys can see that on camera, look how nice that looks. Got a good chrome finish, top and bottom. Got to get a little more on the inside of it. The key to this stuff is make sure you shake the can to bejesus and back. That way it lays down really well. Alright, so that's it for the chrome. I'm going to let this sit for a little while, let it dry up. I might go ahead and knock out the other one and get it to this stage so I'm caught up on both sets. And once I get to the next stage, which the next stage is putting the butyl and the clips back on, seating the lens, scuffing the lens down, taping it up, and getting that ready to paint, put the pinstripes back on. So those of you still watching, like I said, it's going to be a long video. If you don't want to watch it, fast forward to the end, see what they look like. But if you're curious on the process and you want to do your own, simple, easy, it's just time consuming. So stick with me and we'll get these knocked out. Alright, so I got both sides chrome painted. The driver's side I have the butyl installed. I reinstalled the clips. I'll show you guys how I did that real quick. So the butyl, like I said, I'm using 3/8 inch butyl. However, you can stretch it out. Now the butyl itself sits up in this channel right here, all the way around, and as you can see, it sits on the end as well. And you can see I got it stretched out to about 1/4 inch instead of 3/8. So it fits down in that channel. Oops, it fits down in that channel really well. The clips, there's, like I said, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now there's little square pads right here that the clips sit on all the way around, so you can't put them in the wrong spot. Now I will tell you, these little cleats right here, make sure they're kind of bent out, because that needs to grab the lens itself when you push it down in there to keep the lens from popping back out. So if this little pawl right here is bent flat down in, it won't bite the lens to hold it in place. So how I normally start off doing this, as far as seating the lens, I'll normally put it in the end down here first to get it started. Actually, I'm going to start on this end first. Got a little bit too much butyl in that end there. So start on that end where the butyl is at on the end, right down here. Now there are some lines right here that need to line up with the outer lens and the housing itself. These little round lines that need to line up with these corners. So you want to try to make sure those are in the right spot before you pull it down here. So now that you got it, you got a gap from one end to the other, but you're going to have to pull this lens around the housing right here to get it over the housing. And when you do that, just kind of squish that butyl on the end right there. And then walk that housing, just pop it over like that till it's in place. I gotta make sure I got those where I want them still. That lines up good. Butyl's in place. I don't know if you heard those little pops just now. That's those clips pulling the lens in itself. Don't push on the lens on the flat part. You want to use the edge, the top edge. If you push on the center of this lens, it's liable to crack it. I haven't done that yet, but it's the first time for everything. So depending on how much butyl you got in there, it kind of depends on your gap, but you want a good gap. I would say about 1/8 inch is the most you're going to want. So right now I got a good gap right here. Down here on this bottom is about 1/8, but it gets a little bit bigger. So what I'll normally do, I got a really nice gap down here. I'll take a heat gun, don't get it too hot. Now the butyl, in order to, if you got older butyl that isn't really sticky and it's kind of hard, take a heat gun, heat it up. That stuff it'll stretch out and get real sticky again. So if you've got a big gap, which this one's closing up pretty good, it's actually looking really nice. You can put a little heat. That'll soften up the butyl and it'll help squish the butyl down to hold the clips. Will keep the lens from falling off, but that butyl does seal up the lens all the way around, and you're going to want a good seal to keep the water from getting in there. So I'm going to use the heat gun a little bit just to get it warm. You can kind of heat it up, just blow some air up in the cracks to warm the butyl up that's down in there. It'll soften it up. It'll help the lens itself stick to the housing. I said, yeah, y'all still watching this video, and I appreciate it. If you guys are wanting to do these year lenses and you still don't want to do them because it's just a lot of time, let me know. I might do a set or two. Just know if I do them, it's going to take a while to get them done, so don't be in a hurry. I'm just showing you all that might want to take on the task yourself, some of the tricks to doing these. Because I'll assure you, the repos probably aren't done like this. I haven't seen a set of full assemblies yet, if anybody's got any. So I got that housing pretty warm. This heat gun gets really hot. Oh yeah, it's really got a good squish to it now. So now that I've got that butyl warm, it's getting nice and soft. It's allowing that lens to push the rest of the way in there and really stick on them clips like it's supposed to. Now I did heat my butyl up a little bit before I started to help stretch it out. So I didn't have to really put a lot of heat on here. Now, when you get to this point, if you want to let the butyl cool down, you can run a piece of tape, just some masking tape, just push it tight, just to hold it in, just till that butyl cools down and it bites that lens the way it's supposed to. you don't have to get too carried away. We got a good, nice 1/8 inch gap all the way down now. So like I said, heat is your friend. Got a good gap on the back, about 1/8 inch all the way around. Got a really good, nice fit up here on the housing itself. So it's a little wide on the bottom. I'm going to squish that a little bit. So that's the lens install part. I'm going to get the other one installed. I'm going to tape up one for the lines and then show you how I get those lined up and painted. And we can call this video done. If you're still watching the video, I appreciate it. Hang in there. We're almost finished. All right. So I've got both tail lights assembled. Right now I'm doing the orange stripe you see on the lens is going to be removed. That'll be where your gray paint is at. For those of you who are not familiar with painting cars and doing stripes or rally stripes or any kind of stripes on a car, the orange stripe is going to be removed once I put the blue fine line tape on. You peel that off and then you're going to paint where that's at. So I've got the bottom side laid down. I've got one of the top sides laid down. And what I did was, show you right here, I took my original 93 Cobra tail light lens. I used a piece of masking tape just from end to end and used this, just did some marks with a pen. And basically I'm using my old where to lay the stripes at. And this is the center point on the middle of the tail light lens. Did the same thing on the other end. Use guide points here and here. Now I've been doing stripes for a long time. For those of you guys that ain't done pinstripes or any kind of striping, it's not that difficult. You just line it on the end down here where the mark is at. Push it down about 1/4 inch, hold it, pull your stripe out. I don't normally pull it past. I'll break some tape away. Then I just kind of lift it up. And this is kind of the way I do my door moldings also. It's not that difficult. And then you're just going to lay the tape. It'll just basically fall where it's supposed to go. It's going to round. And then it'll just fall. Let's see, give me a little bit more gap there. So these corners are kind of tricky. You've got to keep the same gap all the way down. Bam. So that's the second one in place. It's not too bad. Like I said, it's not. I've done enough of these that I kind of know how to do them. Like I said, I don't get too frightened on doing pinstripes. I'm no chip foos, but like I said, the corner is the trickiest because you've got to keep the same gap. It's got a funny bend to it. There we go. All right. So now that I've got the orange stripes taped up, I'll come in with the blue 1/4 inch fine line tape and tape the red parts down with fine line tape. Then you take the orange pieces, the stripes off, and then you're going to paint the whole tail light lens gray. So for those of you still watching the video, like I said, it's going to be a long ass video. I do apologize. I'm trying to do it as fast as I can and still get some work done. Again, thanks for watching. Give me about another 20 minutes or so. We'll have them taped up and we'll get these bad daddies painted. All right, so we got the blue fine line tape on, the orange fine line tape still on there. So for those of you that are maybe kind of confused, the purpose of the orange fine line tape is the aftermarket, or I won't say aftermarket, but the Daniel Carpenter lenses that they make. The gray tape is actually in the wrong spot. That's the main reason I do this. I don't know why it's in the wrong spot. If you take one of his lenses and compare it to original, for some reason he more centered the 3 lines in the lens. If you look at an original, these really aren't centered. I don't know why they're not centered from Tractor, but on the reproduction lenses, that's what he did. So I take the vinyl tape off, make my own tape lines, tape the orange tape off, which I'm going to do right now. So basically just removing that, all the orange tape's coming off. And that's what you're going to paint gray when you paint the housings. So literally, y'all, I started this at 10 o'clock this morning. It's almost 4. So for those of you wondering how much time it actually takes, now I have been taking my time. I've been trying to video and show you guys how to do this. So that's probably added quite a bit of time as well. But at the end of the day, that's kind of how long they take. Material wise, I used a full roll of blue fine line tape. on these. Now I just caught myself, I made a mistake. So on the lower half right here, this line doesn't go all the way through in the middle bar. On the other one I've got to retape that, so I'll have to touch that up before I paint it. Should take me a second. So but yeah. So like I said, I've used a full roll of the blue fine line tape. It's like $25 a roll. This orange stuff, I bought it Friday. It was $26 for a roll of orange. Now I only use, I don't know, I got quite a bit of the orange left. So, but the blue is gone. Use almost a whole row, taping that up. So now I'm going to fix that one spot for that one stripe. I'm going to scuff them down and paint both of them. If you want to hold on, let me fix that one stripe and we'll get these scuffed up. Alright, that was averted. So, I got all the tape lines. What I was talking about, this stripe right here doesn't go all the way down, the center stripe on the bottom half of the lens. For some reason, I don't know why. Once you peel the orange stripes off, make sure to push the blue stripes back down, the fine line tape. That way you make sure they're all nice and tight. And you got a good crisp line once you get it sanded and ready to paint. So when I say sanded, I'm just going to use a burgundy Scotch-Brite on these. That's all I ever do. I got two new ones. I got one and cut it in half. So scuff that new gray paint I was talking about. Scuff that up really well. So you want to scuff that lens part that's untaped. Yeah, you're scratching a brand new lens, but the paint's got to stick to it. So, no, you don't need to put any kind of primer over it or adhesion promoter. I've done probably 20 sets of these and I've never had anything peel or anything come off. Make sure you get them scuffed really well before you paint them. Just showing you how to do this one real quick. Now, some of these castings on those new lenses are kind of rough down here on the bottom. If you want to trim them up, I trim mine up a little bit down through here before I paint them. So if y'all still watching the video, I appreciate y'all sticking around. Like I said, if you guys are still kind of hesitant to do your own, or you know, you'd rather have somebody else do them, I'm sure there's maybe a local body shop. I'd hate to see what they charge you to do it for you. I'm sure it would be pretty price-wise. Like I said, I'd be happy to do maybe a couple sets, but you know, if I decide to take that on and you guys want me to do some, just be ready. They're like something I'm going to get done in 2 days. I'm going to scuff down pretty good. This one done. Now, being that these were LX lenses, or taillights originally, these are black on the top for the housing. The 93 Cobra. Here's an original. It is gray, it's just faded. This part you can see still gray. This part's really still gray. So they are supposed to be gray housing. Now, one day I'll learn how to time lapse, I guess. Now, like I said earlier, this part that you're painting is 1/8 inch fine line tape, and I use 1/4 inch fine line blue tape to tape up the rest of the lens. Got really good gaps on this, really good gaps. Now, like I said earlier, once you get it scuffed down and you're ready to paint, don't lay your first coat down real thick. Put your first coat on light. Show you how to do that. We're gonna get the window cleaner out. Spray these down. A couple fresh rags in the box over here. These wiped off. How much stuff comes off of that? Nasty. Make sure you get down in the cracks really well. Now I'm going to go grab a tack rag real quick. If you don't know what tack rags are, I'll grab one and show you what a tack rag is. Basically just a sticky cloth. It'll get any dust off of there you want to get off. Don't push on it real hard, just really light. Had a fuzzy right there. Alright, so if you're still watching, I appreciate it. So this is going to be a long ass video. If you want to fast forward till they're done. So I'm going to get these painted real quick. I normally try to set them up side by side if I can, if I got enough room. Got a little wet spot back there still. Alright. Again, I'm using SEM 39173 dark smoke. Again, first coat. Just put it on light. Don't put it on heavy. You're not trying to. Slow and steady wins the race. The good thing about this sim paint, it does dry super fast. So once you get it on there and you got a nice good first coat, let it sit for a few minutes. And then I'll tell you if it's going to lift or not. Looking pretty good. Alright, so I know you guys are getting bored watching this damn video, so I'm going to pause this real quick, finish painting these, and Alright. So if y'all still watching this long ass video, I apologize. I had a lot of guys hit me up. How do I do 93 Cobra taillights? How do I do Okay, so I'm going to make a long video, show you guys how to do it. I'm more happy to maybe do a couple sets for you guys, but it's not going to be cheap. So again, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. If you ain't subscribed, please do so. I'm going to show you these damn taillights. Got them painted, untaped. I cleaned up the seals on the back. RTV'd the seals. I got the nuts rebuteled. Yeah, I put butyl on my nuts. Yeah, that's funny. That's what she said. So anyway, without further ado, I'm going to try to attempt to unhook my little camera here. And I'm going to show you guys what these bad daddies look like. Y'all ready? Bam! Check that shit out. So, this is what I started with. Just a Daniel Carpenter LX lens. This is what nasty originals look like, if you guys have them. And this is what nice, fresh, redone. Got the gap right, the curves right, the lines right. That's what they're supposed to look like right there. So we're going to get them put in the car. See what they look like. Hell yeah. If you don't want to hang around, if you want to hang around one more minute, I'm going to put them in the car and we'll see what they look like. All right, so if you're hanging with me, got them in there. This bitch looks hot. First off, I'll say thank y'all for watching. Check it out. Damn, son. Stealing some goon squad, I know. So what do y'all think? Is it worth the 4 or 6 hours worth of time? A car like this? I think so. So this is Field Snake, y'all. Everybody watching the videos. The sun was out a little while ago. She done went and hid again. There's them door moldings. Look how nice they look. There's some work. Front end on. Repo headlights. Fog lights. Damn, them taillights just kind of make the car. So first off, I'll say thank you for watching. Thanks for subscribing. I know this was a long video, but it takes a long time to do these taillights. I'm gonna show you guys how to do them the proper way. I could have just rushed through it and half-assed it and left out some tips or points or whatever. If you got any questions or comments on how to do these, foxjunk73@gmail.com. Seriously, I'll do them for people, but just know in advance it ain't gonna be cheap. I know you can do it yourself. A lot of you guys dilly-dally with these cars, so I have confidence. Anybody that's simple tools and simple thoughts can do these taillights. They're not that hard. Again, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. It helps a lot. And I hope you all have a good weekend. Take care.